Hi everyone, it's 1 o'clock here on IC Radio and I'm Leila.
And I'm Claire. Thanks for joining us on Science at 1, where we explore the latest in scientific discoveries, deep dive debates, and the wonders of the scientific world side by side.
And the best music on our playlist today, we've got a selection that's all about those warm, cozy autumn vibes. Our fantastic music and sound team have put together an incredible lineup for you. So stay tuned as we dive into today's topics and immerse ourselves in the rhythms of autumn. And moving on to the science menu, we dive deep with Claire into the maze of cryptocurrency, a world beyond banks where digital gold swings and sways.
Next, we turn our gaze to the relentless heart of the world in the realm of social science. We uncover the challenges and the trophies of highly skilled displaced mothers, women who jungled and demands of a new world while holding on to their professional dreams.
Speaking of challenges, our education system isn't without its own. Ever wondered about the competitive spirit that brews within the walls of academic institutions? We'll get into the intense culture of master's degrees. But first, let's give you a taste.
As bad as I need to confess, I actually from coming to the lab, I gave her kind of exaggerated pieces of information about the lab and what it's like.
But that's not all. Image a world where addiction met this match, not in therapy, but in a lab. Sophia brings us the breaking news of a potential vaccine for cocaine addiction, a scientific strat that might just revolutionize treatment.
At the other extreme, Class A drugs are actually being exploited to treat mental health. Abby is going to talk to us about the research being done at Imperial on psychedelic therapies.
It's a hectic hour with tales of science, mystery, and hints of archman, so stay tuned to Science at 1 and let curiosity lead the way.
That's all between now and 2 here on Science at 1. Alright, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. It's 1 o'clock here in London. But yeah, how are you, Claire? How are you feeling? It's November 2nd, autumn vibes.
Yeah, and also opportunity to share our socials. Get in touch with us. You can email us via science19@gmail. That's 9 written as a number, so that's science19@gmail.com. Already coming up next is our first sound of the day, Last Time After Jupiter.
It's like we couldn't get closer. It's like we couldn't get closer. It's like we couldn't get closer, so instead we move further. Is this the last time with you? Don't tell me, yeah, like burner boy. I wanna make this night longer, don't wanna make this drink stronger. I've had eyes on you for the longest, I promise I could make it longer. Perfectly burst off this body and Voss, got me slurring my words like I'm Jonathan Ross. Your burbs on burbs, I'm rocking Lacoste. You look dank, I'm not knocking the cost. Some say life's like a chocolate box. I hope you're not banny. I hope you're not banny. I know you mingle, you're popular what? You're a new single like Top of the Pops. You came to the party in your Air Force Ones, but the next morning could be rocking my Crocs. So come kick off your shoes like Chicago Bulls. Straight winning, no dipping, like Jordan, like Pippen, like life, I guess, in it. It's like we couldn't get closer, so instead we move further. Is this the last time with you? Don't tell me, yeah, like burner boy. I wanna make this night longer, don't wanna make this drink stronger. I've had eyes on you for the longest, I promise I could make it longer. It's like we couldn't get closer, so instead we move further. Is this the last time with you? Don't tell me, yeah, like burner boy. I wanna make this night longer, don't wanna make this drink stronger. I've had eyes on you for the longest. I promised I could make it longer.
It's being in tune with the greater universe. Feeling that the dream has its past, present, future. But my music actually reaching outwards. Not being a part of the past, not the present, not the future.
I've been trying to make beats. You've been trying to make peace. Is this the last time with you? Don't tell me, yeah, that's P. I've been trying to make beats. You've been trying to make peace. Is this the last time with you? Don't tell me, yeah, that's P.
That was Last Time by Jupiter, starting our day with a bit of R&B and soul.
Moving on to our news round now.
We're kicking off with some good news today. Chinese scientists have made a big leap in helping deaf children hear. How? By using a special virus with a new gene and injecting it into the ear. This innovative method worked for 4 out of 5 kids, giving them back much of their hearing. While this treatment is for a specific type of deafness, it shines a hopeful light for many more in the future. Other researchers globally are also onto some similar breakthroughs. This news is truly music to our ears.
Continuing with more exciting news, scientists have finally traced back the steps of the lost continent. We often hear about Orgoland, a huge landmass, broke away from Western Australia about 155 million years ago, while some continents like India remained intact after breaking off. Auckland didn't have the same fate. It splintered into fragments, leaving researchers wondering where they ended up. Thanks to a new study, we now know these pieces made their way across Southeast Asia by connecting the dots. They've uncovered the remnants of Asian oceans and fragments of Auckland scattered around places like Indonesia and Myanmar. It turns out Auckland didn't vanish. It was always there, just a bit spread out.
We will now dive into our November celestial calendar. A small heads up beforehand, some of these celestial events come with quite fancy names, so don't let them throw you off. We promise they're as magical as they sound. Keep your eyes peeled for the celestial events. So starting off with November 2nd to 3rd, the mighty Jupiter is the star of the show. It'll be at its brightest and biggest, and it's a phenomenon called opposition. Gaze eastward just as the sun sets to spot this giant. On November 5th and 6th, brace yourselves for the southern Taurids meteor shower, a sprinkle of meteors, and if we're fortunate, we might even catch a fireball or two. Finally, November 27th marks the night of the full beaver moon. According to mythology, this moon signals when beavers head to their lodges for winter. For an exceptional stargazing experience, find a darker spot away from the city's light, maybe a park or a garden, and give your eyes about 30 minutes to adjust, and enjoy London's November sky spectacle.
Following our essential updates, we turned our attention back to Earth and the London dining scenes. The annual Street Smart campaign is back this festival seasons, asking diners to add just £1 to their restaurant bills in support of the homeless. Since this inception 25 years ago, Street Smart has successfully raised over 12 million. The funds benefit over 15 projects, including Phoenix Project, a food redistribution charity that has, with the aim of Street Smart, provided 3.6 million meals over 5 years. The campaign is more crucial than ever, with nearly 170,000 people, including over 83,000 children, living in temporary accommodations in London, over 560 restaurants across 24 cities participating. This year's campaign is the largest yet.
That's a lot of statistics, but really nice seeing how restaurants are getting and their hands in with the issue of homelessness. Another reminder for Londoners, we recently experienced this seasonal clock change. On Sunday, October 29th, the UK transitioned from British summertime to Greenwich Mean Time, shifting our days to embrace earlier sunrises and earlier sunsets. The concept of adjusting our clocks has its roots in 1916 UK decision, inspired by William Willett's vision to make better use of daylight. Interestingly, Willett is the great-great-grandfather of Coldman's throatman Chris Martin. This practice, primarily aimed at energy conservation, has sparked debates over the years regarding its continued necessity. Some countries have moved away from it, but for the UK, it remains a continuing tradition, marking the seasonal shifts in our calendar.
Embracing autumn with Dr. Jill Backway. Autumn's here, bringing this unique charm and occasionally blues. Dr. Jim Backway, a distinguished acupuncturist from New York's Innova Center, provides tips to navigate the seasons through Chinese medicine's lens.
According to Chinese medicine, autumn aligns with the metal element, suggesting introspection and preparation for winter. So for serenity and emotional wellness, Dr. Blakeway suggests mindful meditation, nature walks, gratitude, journaling, and creating a cozy home atmosphere. And for diet, and she suggests savor root veggies like sweet potatoes, enjoying seasonal fruits such as apples, and incorporating warming spices like ginger. And finally, for immunity boosters, she suggests regular sleep, gentle exercise, hydration with warm drinks, and considering acupuncture, bit hard one to read, considering acupuncture for energy balance. And adapting to autumn can be seamless with these practices, ensuring health and well-being. That's all on our news feed. Now back to music. That was Art Clone by J Twig. We will now hear from Claire on cryptocurrency. She will answer our juicy questions on why we can't just print more money.
Sure, cryptocurrency essentially is the digital currency. Think of this as virtual money that's protected by cryptography. One of the most known forms is Bitcoin, which exists and operates on a technology called blockchain. Bitcoin's value is quite volatile, making it a topic of heated debate among economists. Many see this as an investment, hoping this value will rise, while others are more skeptical. Now, moving on to blockchain, it's not just about Bitcoin. While Bitcoin made blockchain popular, this technology has a broad range of applications. Interestingly, the identity of this creator, Satoshi Nakamoto, is still shrouded in mystery. Some believe they might be an individual, while others speculate they could be a group of experts.
That's very interesting.
It's truth is, and while we are on the topic of money, a question I often hear is, why can't we just print more money to solve economic problems? But it's not that simple. If money were just paper and we kept printing, we end up with too much cash and not enough goods to buy. This imbalance can lead to rapid inflation.
Yeah, I've heard of countries experiencing that.
Exactly. Countries like Zimbabwe faced hyperinflations, while prices would change dramatically in a short span. Beyond domestic implications, printing excess money can have international repercussions. For example, the country's currency might get devalued on the global market, making imports more expensive.
Thank you so much, Claire, for that. That was really insightful. But yeah, it just makes me think about, I've personally read a couple news on how companies like Apple actually, they closed their shops in high inflation countries. I mean, my background in Turkey, in Turkey they have closed their shops because of how quickly the money value and currency changes. So yeah, that was really interesting. Thank you. Okay, so moving on to our next song now.
Mevsim rüzgarları ne zaman eserse o zaman hatırlarım çocukluk rüyalarım, şeytan uçurtmalarım. Öper beni annem yanaklarımdan, güzel bir rüyada sanki sevdiklerim hayattalarken hala. Akşama doğru azalırsa yağmur,
Welcome back, everyone. That was Nil by Istanbul'da Sonbahar, Deep House. After Claire's interesting talk on cryptocurrency, I want to share something a bit different but very close to my heart. A while ago, the London Institute of Social Studies started a special project called the British Engagement Project for Displaced Mothers. This project means a lot to me because a family member of mine was leading it. And I had the chance to attend their final meeting, and it wasn't just about the research. I saw firsthand the difference such projects make in people's lives. I think, just to start off, I think it's important to talk about what brain drain is and like a bit of context about the target demographic for this research. So brain drain is basically highly educated and skilled people leaving their home countries, often because of wars and conflicts, and moving to other countries. So we're talking about refugees, the big scary word. So this movement can leave because of this movement, people leave their home countries because of political conflicts. They come to these new countries because they don't have English. They're kind of back at square one. Imagine like you were a lawyer, you were police, even judges. They come down to these countries because obviously political conflict, war, and insecurity. And they come to these places and, to start their career, there's so many barriers to get back to where they were. This project targets specifically mothers in this minority. And I will just turn the mic to Dr. Veysel Erdemli, and we did a short interview with him. He's a lecturer and been deeply involved in the helping communities as such, these minority groups. And in the upcoming clip, Dr. Erdemli will tell us why they started this project, how they approached the research, and the challenges they faced, and the big wins, and some advice for others who might want to do similar work. So let's listen in.
The inspiration came from witnessing the vast pool of untapped the potential of highly skilled displaced mothers. We recognize their potential to contribute to the UK's economy and social fabric significantly, and aim to offer them a platform to transition and integrate in the UK job market. So the scientific approach, we employed various social science research tools to understand the challenges displaced mothers face in the UK job market. We first carried out a pilot study to design the course content. Then surveys, focus group discussions, and participant observations were used to inform our strategies. So we had some challenges throughout the project. One of the primary challenges was the cultural and professional gap these mothers experienced in the UK. To address this, our workshops provided customized programs focusing on their unique needs and experiences, ensuring they can confidently enter the job market. The displaced mothers in our project hailed from various professions, including medicine, engineering, academia, and the arts. Their diverse backgrounds enriched the project immensely. So we had a couple of success stories after the project, actually. One of our participants, a former university lecturer, struggled with the cultural transition and CV design. So with the help of our project, she is working at the prestigious UK institutions right now. And another participant secured a funded PhD at King's College London in artificial intelligence. So we recognize the mental health challenges that come with displacement. Our strategies were informed by scientific studies highlighting the importance of community support, professional integration, and creating a sense of belonging for health and well-being. For further research, yes, we plan on conducting follow-up studies to measure the project's long-term impact. We're particularly interested in tracking the professional progress of our participants and the subsequent impact on their mental health and professional life. So my advice would be always to begin with a research-based approach, understand the unique challenges of your target demographic. Collaboration with professionals like we did with Dr. Helen Hanna can also amplify the project's impact. As technology and science advance, I see a future where these projects can be more data-driven, allowing for a real-time strategy adjustments. We also aim to harness technology to create a broader support network for displaced individuals at a national level.
Yes, that was by Dr. Raisay Adamli sharing his insights on this topic. But yeah, so now we're moving on to our next track, next music, and yeah, see you guys later.
Love is a walk in the park, that's how I feel at the start. Pretty until it gets dark. Love is a walk in the park, till you get bit by a dog. I never knew you could bark. When the seasons change, you won't feel the same at all. Because summer will turn into fall. Then you'll leave me, you're gone. You don't need me at all. Like the trees in the autumn breeze. It's ironic the way that you leave. Love is like riding a bike, scary but then it's alright. I got the hang of it, right? Till you start moving too fast, look up and your body crash. Why doesn't love ever last? So call me a pessimist, I think I'm a realist living a lie. Every night that I hold you inside of these arms, no one to why you move on as soon as the warm weather's gone. When the seasons change, you won't feel the same at all. Because summer will turn into fall. And you'll leave me, you're gone. You don't need me at all. Like the trees in the autumn breeze. It's ironic the way that you like the trees in the autumn breeze. It's ironic the way that you leave.
And then you say, so that was This Is What Autumn Feels Like by Jake. So we're now moving on to our next item. We all know that life in STEM is hard enough as it is. It's pretty undebated that STEM degrees are academically challenging, but what's not always talked about are the challenges faced in the academic culture that STEM degrees often cultivate.
So, what can we reveal about the toxic parts of academic culture when we ask STEM students to directly reflect on this?
So, you are a newly starting MRes student. What is one thing that you hate the most about STEM academic culture? And do you have any personal experiences with it?
Right, so I would definitely have to say the competition. I think that's one of the worst things in STEM, and I think a lot of people will agree with me. I think in my experience, the biggest part of an MRes is looking for labs. So my personal experience with competition in this case has been kind of facing students who are very ambitious and wanting to kind of get ahead and gatekeeping a lot of information. So I think this specific girl that I have in mind right now, well, I just noticed that she was so eager to ask questions, answer questions, eager to ask about very, very intense about it, which is not bad in itself, but it kind of stressed me out. It ended up being the case that we were both interested in the same lab. So I had gone to this lab I was very happy with. I was happy with my supervisor, and I initially was under the impression that we would work just me and him. And I realized that she was also interested, and she had spoken with my supervisor, and he was very happy to take her on. So as bad as I feel about it, I need to confess that I actually, when she told me this, I kind of discouraged her very subtly from coming to the lab. I gave her a few, well, kind of exaggerated pieces of information about the lab and what it's like. So I was kind of like, well, I'm not going to say what I said. Yeah, I kind of just, which is kind of crazy because I am talking about this girl being competitive, but I kind of did to her what she's doing to me, essentially. I was competitive and I was gatekeeping this lab for just myself. So, yeah, that's essentially my experience with her. After I cooled off a bit, I realized that it's not the case that we're competing necessarily. We're just having our own projects, and it's about how each of us treats their own projects. So, but ask me again in 3 months. I don't know how I'm gonna feel in 3 months' time. But yeah.
I mean, yeah, it sounds like you've kind of come to a resolution in the end. What do you think needs to be done to, like, combat this competition?
I think talking about it has helped me because the more I talk about competition with other people, the less intimidated I feel by the field and by my course. So I think if people are open to talking about how they feel, like whether or not they have imposter syndrome or their insecurities or their anything that they're feeling, rather than trying to be better than everyone else, I think talking about it helps.
Would you ever consider talking to this girl about competition, this girl that you're sharing the lab with?
I would, but I have a feeling that she wouldn't listen because this is the ideal solution. I feel like some people are just not. It's just about, yeah, that's not a really nice take-home message, but I think some people are just not open to it, and that's the realistic kind of scenario.
Even if not everybody thinks this way, I think it's nice to know that some people do, and probably this isn't going to encourage other people to think the way that you are.
And Q.
All right, thank you, Abby, for giving us insight on this topic through your, I believe it was her roommate that she interviewed. And yeah, the voice in this clip was anonymized to protect the identity of the students, sharing her experiences of a competitive academic culture. We have a saying in Turkish, actually. It's the floor has ears, which basically means and nothing can be hidden forever. So like this person, if she was anonymized, it could have kind of reached back to her, or could have reached the person that she's talking about. So yeah, that's great that we were able to anonymize her. We're midway through on our podcast today, so welcome back. Just a bit of a reminder of the topics that we have coming up. But yeah, Claire, if you want to start off with the things that we have coming up.
Yeah, our next items were presented by Sophia, and she's going to talk about the cocaine vaccines.
Yes.
So exciting.
Yeah. So afterwards with Abby, we have our topic on psychedelic drugs. Then Angus will come in and talk about student loneliness during the COVID-19 pandemic. But yes, starting off with Sophia. But before we jump into Sophia, we're just going to have a little music break. And yeah, and then we'll be really excited to meet Sophia afterwards.
always go so well, but I know that it wishes well, so I don't waste time wishing it would change. I don't get down even when I fail, cause what is life without an L? So come on, mate, my mood will stay the same. Oh, I ain't gonna lie, things ain't great all of the time, but I know it'll all end up alright. So I'm gonna smile even when it rains. The sun's still out there shining on the cloudy days. I might be down for a while, but I don't mind a bit. I'll wake up tomorrow and sing my happy song anyway. That girl I like just got a man. That trip I booked fell through again, but I don't concern myself with petty things. Complaining never did a thing, but add some cold and misery, and all my friends will wanna do is leave. Oh, I ain't gonna lie, things ain't great all of the time, but I know it'll all end up alright. So I'm gonna smile even when it rains. The sun's still up there shining on the cloudy days. I might be down for a while, but I don't mind a bit. I'll wake up tomorrow and sing my happy song anyway. I ain't gonna lie, things ain't great all of the time, but I know it'll all end up alright.
All right. That was Happy Song by John Michael Howell. All right, and here today in the room now we have Sophia. She was actually the producer of our session today, so it's quite cool to see her backstage, and now she's here multitasking. But yeah, so just to introduce the topic, cocaine, a notorious party crasher, might have finally met its match. Scientists in Brazil have unleashed Calyx Coca, a vaccine that could change the game in our fight against addiction. So let's dive into this exciting development. Over to Sophia.
Hi Layla and Claire. So I'm talking about cocaine, which is one of the most widely used illicit drugs in the world. So the global cocaine industry is actually worth around £107 billion, and drug overdose deaths involving cocaine are on the rise. So what is drug addiction? Well, it's a disease state. So the body relies on a substance for normal functioning and develops a physical dependence. So this is why people compulsively and repetitively will use drugs, despite the negative consequences to the user's health, their mental state, or their social life. And actually, there isn't currently a registered pharmacological treatment for cocaine and crack addiction. So, usually it'll be things like therapy and sort of support in that way. But scientists in Brazil have just developed a new vaccine named Calyx Coca to treat addiction to cocaine. And this research won the top prize of $500,000 at the Euro Health Innovation Awards for Latin American medicine last week. So when a user takes cocaine, the molecules enter the brain's mesolimbic pathway, which is the reward centre of the brain. So here the drug will stimulate really high levels of dopamine, which is a pleasure-inducing hormone, and this contributes to the cycle of people continuing to take drugs despite these negative consequences on their social life, their mental health, etc. But this vaccine that has just been developed in Brazil works to treat addiction to cocaine by stopping the process of cocaine entering the brain. So when you're vaccinated, an immune response is triggered and antibodies are created. So when somebody takes cocaine after having the vaccine, the antibodies attach themselves to the cocaine molecules, and then this makes them too big to get into the brain and stimulate that dopamine response. So because the user wouldn't get high, this could help break the addiction cycle. And this cocaine vaccine has proved to generate these antibodies that attach to the cocaine molecules and stop it getting into the brain. And it's proved to generate these in animals. But the researchers now want to trial their vaccine on humans next year, with the intended recipients being not everybody in the world, but just these high-risk drug users that are already embedded in this cycle of cocaine use.
That's really cool, Sophia. I'm just going to jump in and ask a question. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of using vaccine to combat a matter like this, cocaine addiction?
Yeah, so I mean, firstly, I want to say that the vaccine from Brazil isn't actually the only effort so far to combat cocaine usage through vaccines. So there was actually a review paper earlier this year that talked about loads of different approaches to creating a cocaine vaccine, and it also identified some common advantages and disadvantages. So none of these vaccines have gone to market yet, but this is what they're proposing are advantages. So some of the advantages of having a vaccine is that you don't have to take a medicine every day like a pill. This can reduce side effects. I'm sure, like, if any of you have had vaccines, I know lots of people had the COVID vaccine. Often they'd have side effects for a couple of weeks and then they go away. So it can be a similar thing with this proposed cocaine vaccine, or anti-cocaine vaccine. Not having to take a medicine every day can increase patient compliance with the treatment, because they only have to take it once every few months or every year or whatever. It's easier for them to comply with this treatment. And also that the antibodies don't act on the brain itself. They only prevent cocaine from reaching the brain, which means that the vaccine can be used in conjunction with other medicines like antidepressants, for example. And also some disadvantages, because there are some challenges to overcome when you're thinking about vaccine, is that it only treats the addiction to cocaine. So the antibodies bind to cocaine specifically. So other interventions are needed if people are addicted to other substances, or to stop a new addiction forming. And also users could potentially take enough cocaine that it outnumbers the antibodies needed to bind to it, but more research is needed on that. And also, I'll also add that this approach isn't just being used for cocaine. So vaccines for the opioids, fentanyl and heroin to enter clinical trials next year. So they're at this similar stage in the process.
Have you seen the series Painkiller that was about the pharmaceutical crisis in America in the 90s and 20s?
It's the 90s and the early 2000s. There was this huge opioid crisis in America, and I've been watching this series Painkiller on Netflix as well. I haven't finished it yet, but I think you have, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good shows, and the shows is based on the true stories, and I won't spoil the plot. I think you need to finish first, but I encourage, if you have time, like, everyone should watch the show, to know about these stories.
Yeah, it's very moving, especially they do start every episode with like an actual real person coming to talk about their experience, but the rest of it is fictionalized, and I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, thank you very much for having me on.
Thank you. Honestly, look at you, Superwoman, just back there on the backstage, and now you're here with us sitting at this table. But yeah, I love that. Definitely will be watching Painkiller. I mean, I think I'm the only one here on this table that hasn't watched the movie. Is it a series or a movie?
It's a TV series on Netflix.
Painkiller TV series. Okay, noted that down. Okay, so now we have our next track, Jayless and Family by DJ Cleon. All right, let's tune into that. All right, so that was Jayless and Family by DJ Cleon. Preventing drug use in the previous section to trying to utilize it, here we have Abby, and I'm just going to let her introduce the topic because obviously she's the one with the wisdom and entrenched knowledge. But yeah, please, Abby,
so
go ahead.
I want to ask you a question. So what do Elon Musk, Prince Harry, Joe Rogan, Gwyneth Paltrow, Mike Tyson, and Jaden Smith have in common?
Lots of big names. I don't know. They're all rich.
Yes. Well, they all suffer from a mental health issue, which I know what you're thinking. It's not that surprising. These days, many celebrities are open about their mental health journeys. But what makes this particular group of people interesting is the way that they deal with their mental health, and that is by taking psychedelics.
Oh.
So earlier this year, actually, Australia legalized MDMA and psilocybin treatments for depression and PTSD, and actually in the US and the UK are kind of on the cusp of doing this too, and it looks like it kind of near the future they will be legalized here too. But what I found interesting is how big this research is at Imperial. So DMT is a psychedelic that's thought to be safe because it's naturally produced in your brain. It's a component found in plants and other derivatives, and a DMT trip, if you smoke it, usually lasts like 30 to 45 minutes. But what they're doing here at Imperial is they're injecting DMT into people while they're in an MRI machine for 30 minutes straight. So it's kind of very experimental and new. And they look, by observing their brainwaves and patterns, they found that when they're on a DMT trip, it's similar to the brainwaves and patterns that are observed when people are dreaming. So when you're dreaming, you're disconnected from the external environment, but you're having a real and emotionally engaged experience. So these are Imperial students also taking part in these clinical trials. And what's interesting is how you can just self-volunteer to go and participate in these trials, just healthy volunteers. So if you want to microdose to combat your depression, anxiety, or mental illness, or you plan on doing it or you already have, you could go and be part of this clinical trial here, which I thought was very cool.
Yeah, that is cool. It's kind of like volunteering to be a lab rat. But yeah, so like I guess the next question I would love to ask is, what are the aims of this research? Like, where is it going?
Yeah, so through analyzing these brainwaves, through analyzing brainwaves in mental health patients, they found that when you have depression, anxiety, or OCD, you have these like repeating cycles that are carried out by neuronal connections. But then when you take psychedelics, these seem to break these neuronal connections and build other connections. So what they think is going to happen is that the aim is you might start taking DMT along with therapy. So this is quite revolutionary because it would change the way that we're treating mental health from just kind of talk therapy things to also a drug alongside it. But unlike what's also interesting is, unlike any other drugs that exist, it's kind of treating the cause of these mental health issues rather than the symptoms.
All right. That's very interesting, I think.
Yeah.
Clear.
So what do you think of this? This is quite a new age thing, and I can imagine a lot of people are quite skeptical about it.
Yeah, I was quite skeptical about it as well. It's super interesting because like this psychedelics is not really a new thing outside of the Western world. It's because indigenous cultures have been using psychedelics for thousands of years. West African religions use like strong doses of psychedelics for initiation ceremonies, and they microdose to connect with higher powers. And I think the difference is it's being used outside of the West more for communal good and like communal connection. But yeah, I don't think we should be scared of taking psychedelics or exploring psychedelics as a response, because the mental health crisis prevails and we need to do research on this. But there is something, the reason I still do remain skeptical about this, because there is something to be said about these ultra-rich celebrities being able to take these Class A drugs for medicine while like working class person of color might be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law for just possessing just weed. So yeah, I think there's something about the whitewashed wellness culture that is unfair to minorities and whether this is being accessible for them. But yeah, yeah, I guess my attitude towards it is let's go for it, but let's be careful and thoughtful of who this is going to help. Because also a lot of the people who are funding this are billionaires. Like the Imperial study is mostly funded by private funders who are, I haven't looked into them, but yeah, it's just who's funding this, who's this research for, I think is kind of my skepticism on it. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much, Abby, on that.
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. Super insightful. Our next song is No Rules for the Queen. I don't know if this was chosen on purpose because our topic covered Imperial, so the king and the queen, our sound team, Anna and Angus. It was on purpose. I have no idea. But yeah, let's get into that. It's a soulful hip hop beat. No Rules by the Queen by Tree 60. Alright, so the song that we just listened to is No Rules for the Queen by Tree 60. But yeah, we have Claire come to an end, unfortunately. Honestly, I think I could probably go for another hour on here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess bit of reflection, Claire. Like which theme item was your favorite? Like of the topics that we've discussed, things that we went through, from the news to the topics, to the research.
I love all the topics, to be honest, because I don't have science background, so it feels like a learning, learning new things.
What was your background on?
TV production.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. I don't know why. I mean, we know why. I thought your background was economy.
No.
Because
Anna's background is economy.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, we have a lot of. Actually, I think Anna's the only one doing economy, but we have a lot of people from different backgrounds, in our course.
Yeah,
so it's
we
really
can learn from each other.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, this was a very diverse radio streaming, and we're just chat for a little bit. And
how about you? Which topic you like the most?
Honestly, like you said, they were all really good, but I think like a specific music was my favorite. You might have missed it, but one of them was Turkish, actually. So I think it was track 2. I'm not sure. So the title is İstanbul'da Sonbahar, and it basically means autumn in Istanbul.
Is it your favorite singer?
Oh no, no, not at all. It's just like a classic song, and it's autumn. And the other songs were very like November themed. We're in November vibes.
It's getting colder in London now.
It is very
super cold and raining every day.
Yeah, we're all wrapped up. But yeah, so I guess that was my favorite music theme. And then obviously I think I'm going to be a bit selfish here and say my topic. All right. Okay. So I just got news that, we have to end it. We have only 1 minute left. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This was quite fun. Right, Claire?
Yes.
But yeah, so next week we'll have Angus. He will be our contributor, and he will talk about student loneliness during the COVID-19 pandemic. So really, really looking forward to that. Please make sure you tune in for, not next week, the week after. Next week as well, but it'll be with a different group. But yeah, thank you guys for joining. Claire, any last words?
Thank you for having us.
All right then, see you guys next week.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.